Oba lived the kind of life young men only dreamed of. In Lagos, they called him Oba the Clean. His beard was always lined, his shirt always creased, and his scent could turn heads before he even entered a room. He worked in tech, managing digital infrastructure for one of the fastest growing companies in the country. His salary came in foreign currency. And it came in heavy. He lived on one of the luxury apartments in Lekki Phase 1, with a view of the lagoon. His fridge never ran out of wine, and his garage had both a black G-Wagon and a white Lexus coupe, each shining like moonlight. On Fridays, he popped champagne at rooftops in Victoria Island. On Saturdays, he flew out to Abuja just for lunch with friends. And on Sundays, he was back in Lagos, posting soft life pictures with captions like "Peace over pressure." He was full of pride. He always boasted in front of his friends, telling them that if their lives weren't moving forward, it was because they were lazy. He laughed at their struggles and told them to work harder. But the truth was something else. Oba didn't really work hard for his money. In fact, he wasn't even qualified for most of the jobs he got. It wasn't his strength or wisdom that brought him success. It was his father. Oba's father was a strong and feared man in their village. People didn't joke with him. He had powers, strange powers, and he used those powers to make sure Oba got anything he wanted. Jobs, contracts, wealth, respect. Oba only had to ask, and it was done. But what Oba didn't know was that a day was coming, a day when the price for all these blessings would be demanded. And it would be a price he never expected. The day came on his 29th birthday. He threw a big party, popping champagne like rain from the sky. As the music played and friends danced, Oba's phone rang. It was his father calling from the village. Oba, with all his riches, never dared to disobey his father. With a deep and serious voice, his father said, "Oba, my son, it is time. Come home tomorrow, we must talk." The next day, Oba booked a flight and traveled down to his village. When he arrived, his father welcomed him and told him to sit. "My son," he said, "many years ago, I went to the oracle to seek power and wealth. To give you the life you deserve, the oracle helped me, and in return, I made a promise. That my first son, yes, you, would marry the oracle's daughter when he turns 29. That time is now." Oba looked at his father in surprise. Then he laughed and joked, "I hope she is beautiful, educated, and has front and back." But his father didn't laugh. He looked down in silence and then said, "No matter what she looks like, you must marry her. That is the only way to keep our wealth and honor." Then he clapped his hands, and two guards walked in with a strange-looking woman. Her clothes were torn, her hair was scattered, and she laughed like a mad woman while scratching her head. She looked nothing like a bride. "This," his father said, "is Ada, your wife-to-be." Oba stood up in shock. This must be a joke. He shouted and stormed out of the house, his heart full of anger and shame. He got into his car and drove off, but not long after, the car broke down in the middle of the road. As he tried to call for help, his phone rang. It was his business partner from the city. "Oba," the man said coldly, "the company has cancelled your contract." That moment, Oba felt the world crashing down on him. His wealth, his pride, his power, all slipping through his fingers. Oba had no choice. He wasn't ready to lose it all, so he married her. Brought her into the city, and that's when the whisper started. Oba the big boy married a mad woman. People laughed. Others shook their heads. His phone stopped ringing the same way. Party invites grew fewer. Even the women who used to beg for his attention crossed the road when they saw Ada, but the whispers were nothing compared to what was waiting behind his front door. At home, Oba lived in hell. Ada refused to bathe. If anyone tried to force her, she would scream and fight like a wild animal. Her smell filled every room, heavy and sour. She tore the curtains from the wall, broke all the mirrors, and said her reflection was trying to kill her. She poured salt into the toilets and slept under the dining table. Every night, she woke up and laughed. Laughed at the ceiling. Laughed at invisible things. Sometimes, she would sit in front of the television and whisper to it like it was a person. One night, she smashed the flat screen with a wooden spoon and told Oba that the demons inside were mocking her voice. Oba's home became a jungle. Oba was left alone. Just him and Ada. And madness, he stopped going to work. But money kept flowing in millions. But Oba, the once untouchable, now lived in shadows, his eyes sunken from lack of sleep. One Sunday afternoon, Oba brought a well-known pastor from one of the big churches in Lekki. The man came with oil, fire, and 4 assistants. He prayed. He sang, he shouted, "Spirit of madness, leave this woman." Ada stood and smiled, then, calmly, she walked into the kitchen, took a frying pan, returned, and hit the pastor on the head. He fell. The assistants ran. The pastor got up, bleeding slightly, dropped his Bible, and ran out of the house barefoot. Oba finally broke down. His eyes were hollow, his clothes rumpled, his voice low like the hum of a tired generator. He had made up his mind. No matter the cost, he was going to return Ada to the village. That night, he drove alone. No driver. No escort. Just him and the sound of the road. The same man who once rode in convoys now clutched the steering wheel with shaky hands. When he reached the village, dawn was breaking. His father was sitting outside the compound, chewing bitter cola and staring at nothing. Oba packed, stepped out, and walked slowly toward him. Then, without a word, he fell to his knees and collapsed at his father's feet. "I can't anymore," he sobbed. "She's killing me. My life is not mine anymore." His father said nothing for a long while. He looked at the sky, then at Oba, then back at the ground. Finally, he spoke in a low, gravelly voice, "You want peace?" "Yes," Oba whispered like a child. "Then you must give up the gift." Oba closed his eyes. He knew what that meant: the cars, the contracts, the penthouse, the parties, the name, the influence, the life that glittered but came with chains. He nodded, but his father stood up in anger. "So that's it? After everything I gave you? All I did for you? You want to throw it away because of a woman's madness?" "She's not the madness," Oba said, rising slowly. "This life is. I have no peace. I haven't slept well in months. I've become a prisoner in golden chains." His father's voice trembled with rage. "Do you know how many sacrifices I made to build this life for you? You want to throw it away because you are too weak to handle a little trouble." Oba stepped closer. "I am tired of pretending. I am tired of being worshipped by people who don't know the price we paid. I want to be free." His father turned away. "You're a fool." "No, Papa," Oba said softly, "I'm just done." He returned to the city the next morning in silence. Oba wasted no time. He called his lawyer and began to shut everything down. He resigned from board positions, sold off properties, handed over cars, and closed every account tied to his father's wealth. People called him mad. Social media exploded with rumors. But Oba didn't care anymore. For the first time in his life, he wasn't acting for applause. Then, with just a travel bag in his hand, he put Ada in the car and drove her back to the village. She was quiet the whole journey, staring out the window like someone remembering something far away. When they reached the edge of the shrine, Ada stepped out of the car, turned to Oba, and smiled softly, for the first time since he married her. It wasn't a crazy smile. It was the kind of smile that carried peace. Then she walked away, disappearing into the forest behind the oracle's house. Oba stood still. Empty. Silent. Free. He moved back to the city, but not to his old mansion. This time, to a small one-room apartment in Suralia. A mattress on the floor. A fan that squeaked. One pair of shoes. One pot. He lived simply. The same man who once popped champagne with senators now cooked noodles with his own hands. Weeks passed. One Sunday morning, there was a soft knock at the door. A quiet pastor stood outside, not with oil and noise, but with a smile and kind eyes. "May I come in?" Oba nodded. The man didn't shout. He didn't wave hands or throw chairs. He simply sat, held Oba's hands, and prayed a quiet prayer, not for riches, but for peace. Start again, the pastor said. From here. From the bottom. And don't worry. God is not angry with you. Oba wept again, but this time, it was not from pain. It was relief. He picked up his phone, called old friends, those he had mocked, looked down on, ignored. He apologized to them one by one, and sometimes, when people asked him, Oba, what happened? You used to be the biggest boy in Lagos. He would smile and say, I didn't lose anything. I was set free. But far away in the village, something was stirring. One night, the air around the compound changed, then a voice came, low. Ancient. Heavy with power, you made a promise, the oracle said, stepping out from the shadows. I fulfilled my part. You wanted your son to prosper. I gave him more than enough. But now, he has returned my daughter. You break the pact. And for that, I will not only take back the wealth I gave you, I will take your life as well. The next morning, Oba's father was found lying on the ground, his body weak and his eyes distant. Illness fell on him like a storm. No medicine worked. No prayer helped. Within 3 months, the great oracle, the man feared and respected by all, fell. He died quietly. Without power. Without pride, Oba received the news in silence. He didn't rejoice. He didn't weep. He simply sat for a long time, staring out the window, and then he picked up his pen, wrote a few thoughts in a worn notebook, and went back to work. With all the knowledge and experience he had, Oba started afresh, this time in humility. No shortcuts. No secret help. Just slow, honest work, and though his life was smaller, it was finally his own. Morals of the story. Ill-gotten wealth always comes at a cost. Oba lived in luxury and pride, but all that he had was not truly earned. In the end, the price for holding onto wealth that came from dark roots was greater than he could bear, too. True peace is better than power. Oba thought power and influence would satisfy him, but he only found real peace when he let go of everything and started a humble life from scratch. 3. Humility opens the door to healing. When Oba humbled himself, apologized to his friends, and accepted a simpler life, he began to heal. Pride kept him blind, but humility set him free. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and share. Stay tuned for more stories like this from this channel. Bye for now.